if you're looking for a solution to address hard water, you've probably come across salt-free water conditioners that are offered by many companies alongside or even instead of a traditional salt-based water softener. And this probably gets you wondering, how do these work? How does it compare to a traditional water softener? Why would I bother with salt if I don't have to? Do they really soften the water or not? In this video, I'm going to explain how a traditional softener works versus how a salt-free water conditioner works, looking at our fresh tap model, and help you to determine which solution is right for you. So let's start by looking at a traditional softener and how it works. This tank is filled with tiny resin beads that are charged up with sodium ions. As your hard water passes through the tank and comes into contact with those resin beads, the calcium and magnesium will stick to the resin in exchange for the sodium ions. Because of how this process works, it periodically is going to need to regenerate with salt. So that's why it goes through a regeneration cycle where it's pulling brine from the brine tank and running a concentrated sodium solution through the tank to reverse that process, to wash away the hardness that's been removed from the water and to charge the resin back up with fresh sodium ions, kind of like recharging a battery. Removing hardness with a softener not only helps to prevent scaling, it's also going to affect the way that the water interacts with soap. Soap's going to lather better, so it can clean more effectively. You'll notice this with your laundry, dishes, bathing. It's also going to be less likely to create soap scum buildup in your tubs and showers. It's worth noting that because of how soft water interacts with soap, it's also going to give the water a more slippery feel. So looking at an example of a salt-free conditioner, this is our fresh tap, and it addresses hardness in a completely different way. The media in this tank is designed for scale prevention, so the focus is not so much on removing the hardness from your water as just preventing scaling and buildup on your fixtures. This uses a process called nucleation-assisted crystallization, or NAC, which causes the calcium and magnesium in your water to form microscopic crystals, causing them to be less likely to stick to your fixtures and appliances. Now, there are some clear benefits to this type of a system. You don't have to buy any salt, it doesn't add any sodium to your water, it doesn't create any wastewater, and it doesn't use any electricity. It also has virtually no maintenance. You plumb it in, and then it just works for 5 to 7 years until it needs to be rebedded. Our fresh tap also contains catalytic carbon media and KDF, which help to remove chlorine and chloramine and disinfection byproducts from city water, and just generally help to improve the taste and odor of your water. So in addition to the scale prevention, it has other benefits as well. But it's important to note that with this type of a system, whether it's the fresh tap or any other kind of salt-free conditioner that uses a similar type of technology, the water is still hard. So if you were to test the water coming out of this filter versus going into it, it would be the same level of hardness, because the hardness is still present, it's just in a different form. So it's less likely to stick to your pipes and appliances, but it is still going to feel like hard water, and it's going to behave like hard water in terms of how it interacts with soap in your laundry, dishes, and bathing. So why would someone choose a fresh tap over a traditional water softener if this isn't actually softening your water? Well, if the only issue in your water is hardness, and it's in a relatively low range, even up to 15 grains per gallon, it could still be a good fit, especially if you're on municipal water. If you don't like the slippery feeling of soft water, if you physically just aren't able to lug around 40-pound bags of salt, or if you want to preserve the mineral content of your water and not add any sodium, these are all good reasons why someone might choose the fresh tap over a regular water softener. Also, if you live in a region that restricts water softeners for environmental reasons, or maybe you have a well that can't produce enough water year-round to always be able to backwash a softener, the fresh tap would offer some clear advantages in those situations as well. But at the end of the day, if you want all of the advantages of soft water, the best option is still a traditional water softener.